Cardiac output is the volume of blood that each ventricle pumps out in 1 minute, in 60 seconds. Please keep in mind the volume of blood that right ventricle pumps into pulmonary trunk in 1 minute equals the volume of blood that left ventricle pumps into aorta in 1 minute. So cardiac output of the two sides of the heart is the same. To find the cardiac output, we need to know, first of all, each time that ventricle contracts, how much blood it sends out, that's stroke volume. And also we need to know in 1 minute how many times ventricle contracts, that's the heart rate. To find out the stroke volume, what we need would be at the end of relaxation of the ventricle, how much blood we have inside the ventricle. And after ventricle pushes blood out, how much blood is left inside the ventricle. We refer to the volume of blood inside the ventricle at the end of its relaxation and diastolic volume. And when ventricle contracts, exactly at the end of its contraction, how much blood is left inside the ventricle would be referred to as end systolic volume. So in general, if you know how much blood you had inside the ventricle at the end of its relaxation and how much blood is left inside the ventricle at the end of its contraction, you should be able to calculate the stroke volume. The difference would be the stroke volume. So stroke volume equals end diastolic volume minus end systolic volume, which in this example, because each ventricle had 150 milliliter of blood at the end of its relaxation, and after it pumped blood out, only 50 milliliter was left. Clearly, each ventricle pumped 100 milliliter out. That's the stroke volume. To find out the heart rate, the most common way would be taking the pulse. But here we need to pay attention when we take the pulse. Are we taking the pulse for 1 full minute, or we take it for a percentage of a minute? For example, if you take the pulse only for 15 seconds, clearly the number that you count should be multiplied by 4, because we have 15 seconds in 1 minute. But if you take the pulse in 30 seconds, the number that you count should be multiplied by 2 to get the heart rate. So here we have an example. What is cardiac output if at the end of relaxation you have 130 milliliter blood inside ventricle, and at the end of the contraction 60 milliliter blood is left? And as you see, we counted the number of pulse only in 15 seconds. We start stroke volume equals end diastolic minus end systolic volume. So in this case, stroke volume would be 70 milliliter per bit. And since we counted the number of pulse only in 15 seconds, obviously the 20 that we counted should be multiplied by 4. So heart rate in this scenario is 80 beats per minute. And in this case, when we calculate cardiac output, which equals stroke volume times heart rate, we end up with 5,600 milliliter per minute. And to convert milliliter to liter, we need to just divide milliliter by 1,000.